Hi everyone, and welcome to Worth the Calories, a Great British Bake Off podcast. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Catherine.
This week we're going to be talking about 2 weeks in a row, because we didn't have an opportunity to record last time.
Double bubble.
So we're going to be doing desserts and German.
Indeed.
Not German desserts.
Although I do like a Black Forest Gatto, but that isn't covered this week.
Which is a chocolate cake.
It is a chocolate cake. Jürgen, it's chocolate. It's chocolate.
I don't like chocolate, so I have a Black Forest Gatto.
I'm very confused.
And we've had comments like that before from other people who've gone on to the Bake Off, but it's been where they haven't realised what the ingredients of something were. You wouldn't expect that from Jürgen.
Maybe he just focuses on the cherry, and who wouldn't focus on the cherry?
Absolutely. Cherry on top indeed.
Yay.
Right, desserts. So they had to make Pavlova.
They did.
As the first challenge, which we had last season or the series before as the technical challenge was vegan Pavlova.
I remember making that. So great.
Did you make it? Because I made it, and it was fine day one and then dissolved for the rest of it.
I think, didn't we divide and conquer that one? And you made the meringue, and I made
the
filling,
yes.
which was not to my taste. I think a lot of that went in the bin.
Well, yeah, because we each had a slice, and it was fine. Yeah. Slightly chickpea.
The best thing about making that was that we got to use the pineapple corer.
Yes, yeah, which is always a good time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they got to make Pavlova.
Yes.
There were a variety of Pavlovas.
There were some really beautiful ones.
People who clearly practiced, some that came out very marshmallowy, some that came out very crunchy. Where normally we complain about the time on these things causing them issues, I feel like actually the time worked quite well on this one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just, I think it's a real skill thing. Being able to not just make a meringue, but actually make a meringue that forms the shape that you need it to make so that you got something beautiful, like the ones with the high sides and things like that. It's quite impressive, but it didn't feel very fresh, is what I'd say.
That's fair.
Because I do feel like it's, well, I mean, there's only so much one can do with a meringue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think that's quite a good challenge, just surprising to be one that's so similar to something they've done within recent years.
Yes.
And I think everyone generally did okay, but I think, thinking back on it, the ones to call out, obviously George had a bad time because it cracked.
Yeah.
And I think as we talk about George, he's the one who doesn't quite nail it sometimes.
Yeah, I think he's just perhaps just not quite as technically strong as some of the others.
And I think that's beginning to show through, which, when we come to the end of the conversation and who's left in and so on, it feels fair that he's a second half contestant, but it just doesn't quite seem to be stepping up anymore.
To the end.
Yeah.
But then I do think there are people who make meringues and there are people who don't make meringues. Mm-hmm. And I firmly put myself in the second category because I'm just like, it just looks such a faff. And I can buy them. And
they're very cheap, and it's soul destroying when it goes wrong.
Well, this is, I think, do you know what I think puts me off? I think it's watching the trauma that you went through when we lived in that tiny basement flat that was very damp and none of your meringues rose. And I was just like, well, I'm never going to try that.
They were sugary, gooey messes.
Yeah.
The other one to call out for this week, certainly, was Maggie.
Yes.
Who did a very traditional one, which was fine. I was actually surprised how little time they gave in the edit to the judging of that, because it was just, oh, okay, it's a very traditional basic meringue, basic Pavlova.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, especially looking out that was the week that she left.
Yes.
It was kind of surprising that they didn't call anything on there, but then obviously they spent a lot of time with her later.
Yes.
And that was where it shone through. So
fair enough.
Okay. Yeah, it's Pavlova, isn't it? Yeah.
Who's the one? Which is the one? I suppose that for me, the ones that stick in my mind are the ones that impress me. Because I'd forgotten Maggie's was so straightforward. Because Maggie's looked very tasty. It looked like what I would make if I ever got round to making meringues and pavlovas.
Right.
Basically.
And yeah, we're not being tasked to push it and do elaborate, interesting flavours and colours and looks and things. Yeah.
Who did the one with the big high sides? What did Christelle do?
She did the key lime pie.
That's not the one I was thinking
Chicks
about.
did the tropical pavlova, so it might have been that. And this is the issue with not having recorded. Obviously, we're a little bit removed from it.
Yes.
But yeah, there were some people who clearly had practiced and gotten that technique down, which again, you should, because you look back, again, because I will always game a system and try to figure out how to min-max it, you would look back and see what gets done a lot. There's a lot of testing of chocolate in hot temperatures, meringues at high speed. Meringue will
feature every season pretty much, won't it?
All the different types of pastry, all the different types of custard, creme anglaise and so on, and all the different types of sponge. Like, you need to make sure you just have them down.
Yeah.
And breads.
Yeah.
Like, and then everything else you can lay on top and figure out as you go. But,
absolutely.
I feel it should be that we look at this and go, oh yeah, these people have practiced and they know what they're doing.
Yes.
And I got that sense. So good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, the next challenge was sticky toffee pudding.
Nom, 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 nom.
Which is a very tasty challenge, which I got to do.
Yay! And I got to eat.
And you got to eat. I didn't make the twirls because we've done this before. We've made absolutely everything, and it's stressful and annoying to spend that long on something that's so small, and you end up with like 5 new ingredients in your cupboard that just take up space.
And also, the only point of the twirl was to fill in some time to keep them busy throughout the technical. I don't think in a day-to-day, what do I want to eat with my sticky toffee pudding? I don't think a seedy twirl is what comes to mind.
A seedy twirl.
There were lots of seeds in it, right?
There were lots of seeds. It is 100% accurate and 100% not right. It's a good bake. It's a sponge, so you make sure you got flour in it. More on that shortly.
How?
Obviously, we had more instructions. It was more detailed on how to do it and so on. I was really careful with the toffee.
Yeah.
Because, and again, this is a thing. I know I'm back in bake-off season when I'm stood over a pot of water and sugar watching it cook at a very low temperature. Like, I've done this every year for years now. So I was very careful because we've had problems with that before, and because it's trying to go for toffee, it's even a higher temperature and a thicker bake. So I'm like really worried.
Did you use your temperature gun?
I didn't, and I should have done because there were no temperature instructions.
Okay.
I was like, I could look it up and so on, but I'm going to try and do this off these instructions. It came up more as caramel, I think, which I don't think is a problem, and I don't think you noticed because I didn't talk to you about this.
I thought it was very tasty.
It's a sugary syrup thing, But I think I should have cooked it for longer to go a bit thicker and a bit darker. But I was just being really cautious with it. We've had times where it's just hardened and stuck to the bottom of the pan.
Put it this way, I would rather have a lighter coloured caramel than nothing.
Than a burnt toffee or nothing. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that, which is why I went, do you know, I'm just going to take this now.
Yeah.
So fine. The other downside to it, and I'm sort of throwing in critiques first before I ask for what it was like eating it. When you put butter on the inside of the pots so that you can turn them out, and then you put a bit of the toffee sauce in the pot, and then you put the batter on top of it. I hadn't totally cooled the toffee sauce.
Okay.
I think it should have been cooler, is probably what I would say. Because the toffee sauce bit and the very top of the sponge didn't come out. And I think when I put it in, it melted the butter and meant there wasn't that layer to come out more easily. So...
Well, then I think what is necessary is for you to make it again so that I can get the proper tasting experience.
Make more toffee.
Yes, exactly.
Other than that, what did you think of it?
I thought it was delicious. Really, really delicious.
I was really pleased with it.
Yeah,
it came well.
Be.
Yeah, it came out well.
Yes. Please make it again.
I was really impressed by how soaking the dates and then blending them. Was it dates? It was dates, wasn't it?
Dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because obviously we bought prunes and things for you, and so anyway, that they actually came out with a very toffee flavour, whereas obviously when you eat a date, it has a date-like flavour, which is not, the texture of dates always puts me off. But yeah, once you soak them in water and then pureed them, I was like, oh yeah, I can see what this is going to do to it. This is good,
I think next time we have your parents round, you should make the sticky toffee puddings. I think that would be a really good dessert. I think your dad would like that a lot.
It wasn't too complex either. It was fairly okay. I spent longer creaming the butter and sugar together. I always do that too little, so I made a point of doing that really long time.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's helped. I think again, it's just experimenting and being. okay, let's do it a bit longer this time, and suddenly say, yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah. What did it only produce the 4 that we ate?
Yeah.
Okay, so it actually wasn't an enormous quantity.
No.
Because a lot of the time we end up with way too much stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And the recipe, I think you could scale quite easily, should you want to do more.
Yeah.
But no, it came out well.
Perfect. Yum.
Good.
Thank you for making them.
You're very welcome.
Yum, yum.
Is there anything to comment on the way they did it in the technical and who did well and who didn't do well?
Well, I mean, look, Maggie is what Maggie is. I mean, I seriously don't understand why she didn't just take them out of the oven when she realised what she's done instead of carrying on and turning it into like a burnt mess at the bottom.
Exactly, that's my question. Like, okay, this is not going to be something you can serve. Don't stand there and cook it for the full time. Go, what could I do with this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost have rather she sort of started again.
Yeah. Or something.
Just something, yeah.
Right, I'm going to scale all of the thing down so I'm making one.
Yeah.
And just get it through. Something, but shame.
It is a shame.
And it is a shame because you don't want to see people making mistakes.
No.
But also that doesn't feel out of character. That's really harsh. That's really harsh on her, but it feels like it's...
Because I think I'm sure she's a very skilled baker. I think she just reached the point where she was outclassed by everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it was a shame that she did that, because that's what I remember.
It's the thing so I'm going to harken back to Diane with Bingate.
Yes.
And Diane decided not to come back after Bingate.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of leaving Ian's ice cream on the side, which apparently was only out for a very short time, and he was the one who threw it away and so on.
Yeah.
Fine. But she didn't come back the week after. Now, when we rewatched it earlier in this year, it's actually really obvious that she shouldn't be coming back and would probably have gone out because... Every week she's saying, I don't know how I can keep up with it. The things that people are doing are just so far beyond what I have done and what I can come up with. And I feel like I've seen that in Maggie as well. Just, I'm going to do the traditional things, but everyone else is now thinking beyond it. And even had she not made a mistake, this was probably her week.
Yeah. We had it a little bit with that lovely old Scottish guy.
Yeah, really good at the core.
Yeah, but was perhaps less open to experimenting. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a shame because you would want to see someone who comes through with that level of practiced skill. Yeah. But then with some of the creativity that we see from people who are prepared to just throw, what if I throw in rose water and lime? Random things together and see what happens.
And sometimes it really doesn't work, but like sometimes Christelle seems to be blowing them out of the park with her slightly unusual flavour combinations this season. Yeah. And you just think, well, where did you start with that? What was it she made the other week with the grapes on top of the focaccia? Yeah,
she did. Didn't she cook the grapes a bit? Yeah. And then put them on top, and that was interesting.
Like, where on earth did you come up with that from?
Great. Yeah. It's not even just about the stylistic, making it look beautiful and practicing the presentation and so on. It's coming up with that interesting stuff. Yeah. So, good. The last challenge was the Jaconde Imprimé dessert.
Pretty cakes.
So making the thing on the outside. Jürgen had done this before with an Enterprise.
Yes, they were cool.
He said 2 Enterprises kissing. Now,
well, there are. Not snogging.
No, but they are. It's 2 Enterprises with butting up against each other. I don't know. There's just something about it it's just the same design reversed. I don't know. Anyway.
Fair enough.
And also it looks like an Excelsior class, not, which is an Enterprise B, which is no one's favourite Enterprise, frankly. Anyway.
They all look the same.
We need to watch way more Star Trek than we have done for you, to be honest.
I'm not sure we can watch way more Star Trek. We're running out. Right. If you were to do an Imprimé Jaconde sponge, and you could design it with anything on it, what would you put on it?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like we probably said we were going to ask this question. I forgot to think about it, or I came up with something and forgot what I came up with. I'd want to do not quite what Jürgen did, because the music's a nice idea, but it's a single round, whereas other people's was a pattern that sort of works in the round. I'd want to do one of those sort of poems that the end is the beginning.
Okay.
Where you could continue reading around.
That's quite cute.
Which almost feels a bit like those plates that are the names of different pastas around the outside.
Oh, like I think they're Emma Bridgewater, aren't they?
Yeah, that kind of thing. But I'd want to do, something with maybe some text that did that.
Okay.
Or, and it's just occurred to me, obviously, the elven writing, or the writing of Mordor within the One Ring. Wouldn't that be the thing? Some sort of very light golden sponge with the writing of the One Ring on it. Yeah, okay, fine, that's the one.
Nice. That's very cute.
What would you have come up with?
It's really interesting because I think our choices are somewhat guided by our confidence in our piping skills.
Okay. A straight line, and even that would not be so straight.
I would do circles in different colours.
You do a polka dot.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And great. Yeah, it's just a nice pattern. It doesn't need to be so grand, so impressive. It just needs to look good.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I did initially think, I'd do some black cats. And I was like, no, I wouldn't. They would be awful. They'd be splodging all over the place. Circles in bright colours. Simple, clean.
Nice.
Executable.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, it would be a sort of continual pattern, so you wouldn't necessarily... Because the problem is the seam, obviously, when you combine it together.
Yes,
so
I'd actually have to do some measuring instead of just going, here, all my circles overlap. Yes.
Good. That's very nice.
Whose Imprimate cake did you like the best?
Probably Chiggs's. I think, it's hard because he obviously won the week and did so well. But it really did have that sense of this guy had skills before starting this... And him baking has been, revelatory to it.
Yes. I was tempted to try Chiggs's because the recipe's up.
Okay.
But then I decided it wasn't for a weekend. Maybe as we get towards Christmas, if we have a few days off and we're actually at home instead of at a family member's house for a few days in a row, I might have a go then because I do quite fancy having a go.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would like to
I've
have.
never done it,
like to have plenty of time for the setting and to do everything carefully and slowly, not trying to cram it into a Sunday when I'm also doing the laundry.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yes.
And it might also be the thing that you... the bit that goes inside the cake is just really simple. It doesn't need to be layers and mousses and biscuits and all the stuff they do to try to impress. It could just be, and I've wrapped it around a cake of the same sponge.
Yes,
something like
exactly,
that. Yeah,
exactly. So I might have a go at Christmas.
Oh, nice.
In which case I'll stick it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So people can see my candid piping. But yes.
Were there any that impressed you?
I only remember Chiggs's.
Okay. And
I'm sure there were.
And the ones that fell apart.
Well, the thing is, actually, Maggie's looked achievable. I did think, actually, I could try that.
Right.
I mean, it would probably have the same result, or except we'd have longer to make the thing in the middle set.
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
And that was the same thing for Amanda, because I was thinking Amanda's
yes.
that just didn't stay together because, again, it wasn't set. And it's, again, the timing is the thing. But it's about what you choose to make and how you choose to divvy up your timing and getting it right on the first time.
Absolutely.
That's key. If you have to try redoing stuff or taking more time over something,
it's not going to happen.
It's when it starts falling apart.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good challenge. I think we've seen that most years now, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Although it does make me think that there were somewhere around sort of series 2 or 3 or 4 maybe someone did it and it started being people are coming in with good techniques now.
Yeah.
Over and above, they can do a good Victoria sponge, and it's now been incorporated as an expectation. You can come in and do this.
Yeah.
And it shows the increasing skill set of the bakers, which is good.
I agree. Can I ask you a question?
You can.
I may have asked you this question before in previous years, but dessert week.
A
little bit unfocused, no?
Yeah, that last one is the one that stands out for me. Pavlova is a dessert.
Yes.
I would agree with that. Sticky toffee pudding is a dessert.
It's a pudding.
It is okay. Sticky toffee pudding is a dessert as beer is a liquid or beer is a drink. It is a, separate definition of a thing.
I will take that.
Yeah, but it does because dessert is the meal. Or the course within a meal.
Yes.
Is the way I take what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Cake, I don't generally class as a dessert.
No, I guess with this one, with all the moussey stuff inside, that's what brings it to the dessertness.
Yeah, that's where it just about comes in, but I wouldn't... like the closest you get is when you see like a chocolate fudge cake and
Yes.
things like that. But
Yeah.
generally, it's not something you serve as a dessert. But you know, different strokes, different folks,
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. You could see that served on a dessert trolley
Yeah.
because it looks so good. But yeah, in other series, they've done Puddings Week, where they've done bread and butter pudding, sticky toffee pudding,
Yeah.
you know, boiled stuff of different
Yes.
types. Yeah.
Yes.
But yes, unfocused is also the thing. And
Unfocused.
at least there's no cheesecakes this year, because that's the traditional one they go to, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
which is a shame, 'cause I like a cheesecake, but at the same time, is a very hard thing to do, and they have done it a lot.
And also that, you know, like having watched you do baked cheesecakes,
Mhm.
the key thing to helping it not have a great chasm across
Mhm.
is a long amount of time letting it cool slowly.
Yeah.
Well, that's hardly replicable in the tent.
Yeah. I think for me, because I've never quite mastered that, but I think it's turning off the oven much sooner than I do.
Right.
And I think I never quite get that right. So that's you know, as and when I do them again, that's the next thing to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So you didn't make anything for that week because you went back and made the malt loaf.
Well, I did. I did think, do I try a meringue? Do I spend a day and a half swearing at Chigs' imprimae cake? Or do I just make the malt loaf, which I really, really want
that you want to make. And not only do you want to make, other people have sent us messages going, do tell us if you try this. It looks really good and we want to know about it. So
Yes. So I made the malt loaf.
yes. How was the baking for that? What was the thing?
It's dead easy. Really, I would suggest malt loaf is if you like cake that involves a sort of dried fruit, which not everyone does. I appreciate. I love it. Then yeah, give it a go. Basically,
Although it's a loaf, you don't make it in a bread-like way. It's a cake.
no, there's no kneading.
Okay.
That I remember. I don't think I needed it. Let me think. What did I do? So I soaked the dried fruit in tea. And I did it the quick way, which is like putting it in the microwave for 4 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I found it a really straightforward bake. One that so straightforward that, seeing as we had another half of a bag of prunes, I made it again during the week as well. Yeah, so basically there's lots of chopping up of the prunes.
Right.
We use actually sultanas.
Can I just ask, chopping up, not blitzing in the little blender or anything?
Well, I just chop them up with a pair of kitchen scissors.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm not
because
sure.
you would blend it to get more of the you know, pulp it slightly.
Yeah.
But that tells me they want it in more solidity.
I mean, to be fair, the recipe does say finely chopped, but finely chopped in my world is no smaller than like 3 millimeters square, because that's all I've got patience for.
Right.
So I basically just chopped every prune up into about 8 bits using the kitchen scissors.
Cool.
And then you make some tea. Black tea.
Were you okay with that step? Could you manage with the
just about, you know, like that is within my skill set. And you pour the tea over the fruit. We were supposed to use flame raisins. We couldn't find those, so we used sultanas instead, but it didn't seem to make a negative difference. Bunged that in the microwave for 4 minutes with some cling film over the top. I nearly said kitchen roll. That would not have worked. Bring it out, put some bicarbonate of soda in and let it sit for 10 minutes. And then in the meantime, melt sugar, malt extract and treacle together over a low heat. Now, one of the hardest things was actually finding the malt extract. I recommend Holland and Barrett's because we just couldn't find it in the 2 big supermarkets near us, could we?
Yeah, I'm not even going to make my joke of, you know, other malt extracts are available, because no, they're not.
They're not.
We had to go, and it was half between the baking and half between the sort of body oil section.
Yeah. Well, you see, I remember as a child my mum giving me spoons of malt extract as some form of health thing. I can't even think what form of health
in a sort of spoonful of sugar way, maybe?
Yeah, no, there was a while where we would, every day, she'd make me have a spoon of malt extract. And I'm not entirely sure what she was trying to promote there, but it was a thing. It happened.
Fine. Yeah,
I swear I remember it.
Okay.
But anyway, so it was in health food shop, Holden and Barrett, so that's where we found it. But yeah, we melted that together with sugar and treacle. And again, I had to leave that to sit for 5 minutes just to cool down a little bit once it was all melted together. And then you just bunged everything together in a bowl with some flour, mixed it together, folded it together gently.
Bung it in a bowl with some flour.
Folded it gently into some flour.
With a metal spoon.
And then whisked 2 eggs together. Thank you very much for my lovely neighbours who provided me with one of the 2 eggs when I realised I only had one in the fridge. And then, mix it all together well. Stick it in the oven.
Nice.
Interestingly, the first time I did it, and I don't know if this is just me not being very careful with oven temperatures, an hour and it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Second time I did it, an hour, and it was super raw. There was loads left on the skewer when I pulled it out,
Weird.
so I put it in for an hour and an extra 15 minutes, which was probably a little bit too much. I probably should have gone up in increments
Watched
of
it a
5.
little bit, yeah, okay.
But yeah, both times it was nice. The recipe does say, if you leave it for 2 days to mature, the flavour improves. I mean, we obviously didn't leave
malt loaf.
we obviously didn't leave the first one for 2 days because we wanted to eat it immediately. I wanted to eat it immediately.
It was nice, hot.
It was very nice. I don't think I didn't really get a great sense that it had.
No, I didn't. I didn't get
sitting.
a vibe of the thing. I think it maintains its moisturousness very well.
Yes.
But other than that, it was the same.
But ultimately, a success. What I would say is it does look better when you remember to glaze it with a little bit more of malt extract when it comes out of the oven.
Okay.
Like the first time, I just completely forgot about this, and it was fine. But it looks a lot prettier with a shiny top if you just brush on a little bit of malt extract when it's still hot from the oven. But yes, fully recommended if you like a dried fruit type cake.
Yeah, it's very tasty. It's
very tasty.
Bit of butter on top.
Very straightforward.
Some of your salted butter on top is very nice as well.
Yum,
Again, adds a nice extra element to it.
Yes, that was a success. I'll do it again.
Yeah, and trying to put it back, because that was a week 1 thing, wasn't it? And that is a good week 1 challenge. There's a few core things in there to test people on, which I think worked well for the testing, but allows everyone to get through something.
Yes. And for me, as an enthusiastic viewer that wants to try stuff, this is the sort of recipe I want.
Yep.
Because I want to add things to my repertoire that don't make me stay in the kitchen for the entire day to make.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is something you could make and offer up to something that needs some sweet thing, and
that you can start and have a reasonable prospect of success.
Yeah.
As opposed to start thinking this could be an utter disaster.
Yeah, meringues, for instance.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so just going back to the episode we just talked about, good week.
Yes.
I think it largely went as expected. I'm very pleased Chig's 1-star baker.
I love Chigs.
I think he is such a nice guy.
Such a
Obviously
good attitude.
comes across. But I think he has the right attitude to it, which is always nice as well.
Yeah.
And clearly has skills. You know, a lot of respect for this guy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next week was German week.
It was.
Yes, yeah. In fact. And to start off with, they had to do German biscuits, German Christmas biscuits.
Yum, yum, yum. Leberkuchen?
Well, because I think one person did Leberkuchen.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm saying Christmas biscuits. I think it's just that German biscuits are sort of synonymous with Christmas, which is why.
Decorative German biscuit.
German biscuits, yes.
Yeah.
And again, really nice that there was a whole range of things.
It was fascinating, wasn't it?
Open, because Pavlova's a little bit constrained.
Yes.
But this was a find German biscuits and make them. And we saw the gamut of, obviously, Jürgen making things that he'd done, that he knew very well and could do. And someone doing Leberkuchen who hadn't necessarily done them before, so it didn't come out so well. Giuseppe putting his own spin on things, which worked really well. And George picking something that's incredibly complex and as he says, shouldn't have been picked. He should have thought about that one. It's a nice challenge. It's a good one.
I haven't looked to see how many of the recipes are up, but they are things I would like to try.
I think only one of the recipes is up.
Okay.
And I was quite interested in that as well. Yeah. But it also feels like the sort of thing they could do. The challenge is make Leberkuchen.
Yeah.
And then decorate them and have that as a technical or as another challenge in the future and so on.
Because those sorts of German Christmas biscuits, those are flavours that I enjoy very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yes, that is a thing that I would like to have within my skill set.
Yeah.
It's also flavours my mother enjoys very much.
True.
So it will be good to be able to make them to take them up north when we go visit.
Well, maybe that's a little present we do for her. We could go and do a little bag or pot of them or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Hi, Liz.
She doesn't listen.
She doesn't listen to this, no. The thing that I really liked was that some people had chocolate and some people had fruit and some people had cinnamon. And again, the variety of it is great, really good.
Yeah.
And, there were successes and failures and people who, what was the thing, the Liverpudlian lass?
Lizzie,
thank you, who said she baked them and Jürgen said less and Paul said more when she did them less. So it's like, clearly there's an in-between there that she should have been aiming at. But again, it's good to see them practicing them and helping each other and talking about, again, sides of the show that you don't always see.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it was a good challenge. Okay, for their technical, Prince Regentorte.
I'm not even going to try.
Which I want to do. It's a fairly involved one, so I think that might have to be a bit like you said with some of the others, when we have a really clear space of time and we can focus on doing it, because it's cooking 8 sponges in batches of 2 or 3 at a time, and then doing the chocolate or letting the sponges cool, doing the chocolate, letting the chocolate cool, combining it, letting that cool, doing the ganache, letting the ganache cool, then putting the ganache on top. It's an involved, lengthy bake. But I like it. I like it because it's sponge and chocolate. I like it very much to my flavour. Compared to some of the other national weeks they've done, when we think back on the Abelskiva, that were elaborate and no one had really done them before and used a specific device and so on. Yes. When we think of, because they've done a cake like this before, but you remember
the way you grilled the top.
The green. No, there was the green one when you have to spread the batter and then cook each one and then put it on the layer.
Right.
So it is just a layered sponge, not with anything in between it.
Which is the one you made where you had to virtually boil the steam. Was it steaming the batter over the top on a?
Oh yeah, we did that. Well, that was the pie. That was the Moroccan pie.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but same sort of thing. But there's definitely one where they've had to basically cook. And I feel like it might have been Japanese week.
Right.
They had to cook very thin sponge and then put it on the layer, and then cook a very thin sponge and put it on the layer, and then cook a very thin sponge and put it on the layer, and it might have been like 18 layers or something, so you run out of batter and so on. This felt a little more achievable than that, a little bit more understandable of the process.
And you could take the decision to go, well, 8 layers looks beautiful, but I'm not doing a bake-off technical, so why don't I do 4?
Yeah, exactly. Or, even if it comes to 7, because I've made sure they're all distributed nicely, I don't want a really thin layer, something like that, but fine. The chocolate cream to go in between it is a very standard thing. The chocolate ganache to go on top is a very standard thing. So I'm looking forward to doing it. I'm just aware of its complex. So I want to make sure it's done well and nicely.
Yes, absolutely.
I liked that by and large, everyone did it well. Amanda had issues where it split. She overwhipped things, but she then made up for it by just putting some, at least do something.
Absolutely.
There were people where it didn't set as well, so it was a little bit sloppier, for want of a better word. Some of them, the sponges weren't flat. But again, it was achieved.
Yeah, no, I thought they all did a really good job. And I think begrudgingly, so did Paul Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm, I think they talked about it. It was warm. It wasn't as warm as we've had other chocolate weeks and things.
No, because we had a rubbish summer.
Well, that's fair as well. But there is something much more satisfying about the bake-off when it's down to how they do it, rather than, well, this person left out flour. Yes. Or this just didn't come together in whatever way.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a good technical. I thought it was a good technical. I enjoyed watching the different ways they tried it, like with Giuseppe, like sharing his batter out across a gazillion baking trays from the very start.
Once.
And it was quite interesting seeing how they approached it. I mean, we don't have 8 baking trays, so that's not going to be a possibility. Nor do I think we have the need for 8 baking trays or the storage space to store them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of having the baking paper out and doing all that spreading.
Yeah.
My wariness is just knocking the air out of it because it's a whipped egg sponge.
Yes.
So you need to make sure that's done well. But at the same time, clearly it is possible. So, I want to try it. And when I do, we'll talk about it more. Yes. Yeah, good challenge. Yeah. So our final challenge.
The bread cake.
Was the yeast cake. Yeah. Which, fine.
Okay, there was one with cherries in it. That is in my future.
Yeah, which I think the recipe has gone up for.
It has.
Okay. Yes.
So yes, I'm eyeing that up. I'm going to have a good read of it this afternoon. Sorry, I'm being attacked from behind by a cat. Yes. So, and I'm going to just decide how much time it might take, because if it's something that I could do during the week, especially if there's some proving time or something in that,
do it in stages. Yeah,
do it in stages. That might it might appear this week.
Nice, that would be lovely. Because it did look very nice.
Very nice.
An interesting challenge. Slightly more sedate, perhaps, at this stage of the show.
I think it's hard to make it showstoppery. Like, I think they all look very nice, but like they tried to bake off it up by saying, "Let's do 3 and lay them on top of each other." Oh, doing a tiered
one. That was
and Jürgen was like, "This is not how we do it in Germany."
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, they're like, "We anglicised it." No, you didn't anglicize it. You bake offed it.
Yeah,
because it has to be a showstopper, and therefore it has to be visually impressive as well.
Yeah.
But...
the number that were concertinaing or they were trying to put on liquids, which were not helping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting because, like, to me, I mean, I love a Stollen, but I don't know if Stollen would fall within this category of
couldn't tell you, I'm
leavened
afraid.
bread cake. But I'm also like, we have cake.
Yeah.
We have bread.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I need to bring the two of them together.
Yeah.
But I do need to make Giuseppe's cherry one.
You do need to make the cherry one.
Because it's got cherries.
It does look very nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So a fine challenge and a good week. I think a better national week than some of the other national weeks we've had.
Yes.
Where, I mean, I seem to remember on Japanese week they did stuff and you were like, I've never heard of this, never seen it. Japanese people we know have never heard of it or seen it.
Yeah.
Really scraping the bottom of the pan.
Yeah, or sort of finding things that they thought looked sufficiently complicated.
Yeah. At least you had Jürgen who would clearly knew what these things were, even if he didn't do them.
That was it. It was that awful matcha, and then it was a matcha cake, wasn't it?
Yeah, the green thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was horrid.
It was awful and weird.
Yeah,
and didn't taste. It tastes like swamp.
It was not for us.
So I think German week and the series as a whole, now we're halfway through, is good because it's not. It doesn't feel like it's doing some of the ridiculous stuff that winds us up a bit.
Yes.
And I think the judging has generally been good. Prue still comments about how it tastes really good.
Yes.
Every single time. Like, we could get a little bit more from her, and Paul is sometimes a bit finicky.
Yeah.
Pernickety. But I would rather see someone picking up on things. He could do so in a nicer way, to be fair.
I think he plays up to the character that he's been given now.
Yeah. So Freya went home this week.
Yeah, understandable. I'm a little sad, but I think she hadn't... I mean, look, I think it's very impressive that she stands up to her principles and makes things using vegan ingredients as far as is possible. I don't know where I sit on the line of should she have been given vegan alternatives or not for the technicals.
Yeah.
Because...
there have been some complaints.
Arguably, yes, if the Bake Off wanted to support her principle of being a vegan, but equally in the level playing field side of things, they all need to have the same ingredients.
Absolutely, and vegan ingredients act very differently at times. I mean,
I would have been horrified if they presented her with a technical that had meat in it, because I think that would have been very unfair.
Yeah.
But I think she did well. I think she just faded a little.
Yeah, I think I've seen a comment that the people you could pick for Star Baker and for leaving each week have been very obvious, which good. It should be. The show should help you get to that stage.
Especially at this point when there's still quite a lot of people in.
Yeah, I think the people who've gone previous to this were, you could see early on they were not going to be at the same class as some of them who were really, really good.
Yeah.
The people who've won, absolutely, completely. Was it Giuseppe got Star Baker this week?
Yes.
Who had a fantastic week. Well done him.
Absolutely.
And part of the point of that, although the joke was Jürgen is of course going to win this, but Jürgen will bake very good German versions of those cakes. Giuseppe made very good Italian versions of German bakes, which is more interesting to the judges, I think. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
And I think seeing Freya or George possibly, both of them possibly going this week, and I think we would have said it was fair on either direction of that.
I agree.
yeah, you could see it from what they'd done here and how it had gone in previous weeks for them. So,
and Freya's biscuits were a bit of a disaster this
yeah,
week.
Yeah.
I think if her biscuits had been better, it would have been tighter at the end.
Yeah.
But...
So, I'm enjoying it as a show this year.
Yeah,
I think where we've been a little annoyed or a little unsure about it, this is back to some of the pleasantness.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next week? I can never remember.
Next week was pastry. So this is where it's the interesting things of, do we have choux, do we have puff, do we...
So I would like us to have a sweepstake. Okay. How many times will the phrase soggy bottom be mentioned?
Possibly far too many.
I'm going to plump for 5. 5 soggy bottoms.
Okay, 5 soggy bottoms in a row.
Exactly.
Soggy bottoms, yeah. We will probably be told how choux pastry works and how difficult it is and so on. And
yeah. Do you know what? I think that this middle round, it might be a challenge that the bakers don't know what they're coming into. They're coming into blind.
Exactly.
And it's going to be judged blind.
Wait, they're not going to know? And the judges aren't in the tent with them? What is this? They're throwing the rule book out. Every week they tell us the same thing. Yeah. And, I laugh at RuPaul's Drag Race because RuPaul's Drag Race is half scripted because she uses the same lines every single week.
Yeah.
But Bake Off's almost the same at times. It's like, we know. And even when they get to the end and you got Matt and Noel going, oh, this gets harder every week. Like, it's not about you. Stop saying that line every single week.
Yeah.
Again, you sort of miss some of the previous judges who got that better.
Yeah.
Not previous judges, previous hosts, sorry.
Yes.
but yeah, every week it's... So it will be interesting to see what they have to do for pastry week, because it is usually a good week. I'm hoping, you're exactly right. It wasn't the best summer, so hopefully that will help them sometimes in some of the challenges they have to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And put together, because again, pastry is very delicate for it, and we always have that. You're rolling a puff pastry, and you have to do it really quickly. And
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what we can have a crack at.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, was there anything else we wanted to cover?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think you need to go downstairs and make me more sticky toffee pudding.
So don't forget to look us up on Instagram, where we post pictures of the bakes we put up. It's instagram.com/eloquentgushing. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook, again, /eloquentgushing. Do tell us what you're baking. Yeah, we had Beckett Graham on Twitter, who finally found their malt extract and was making malt loaf, which apparently had a delightful aroma, although we've not heard since. So I want to hear how it came out. And did they leave it to rest for 2 days?
Eat it when it's hot.
Why? No, that's silly. You don't leave cake to rest for 2. Anyway, do make sure you go and look us up on all the places. Tell us what you think and what you think of the bakes that we put out as well. And join us next week for more Worth the Calories. Bake.